The family of the late playwright and composer Mbongeni Ngema will this morning head to the mortuary to fetch his remains. That's ahead of his provincial official Category 2 funeral. It's set to take place at the Convention Centre in Durban. The Stimela saseZola hitmaker died in a car crash in the Eastern Cape on the 27th of December 2023. Ngema has been hailed as a hero who used the arts to resist and fight apartheid. Our reporter Ntando Mnyandu joins us with more now from Durban. Ntando, a very good morning to you. Of course, today is the day that a final farewell will be bid for the late musician who was a trailblazer in his space. Talk to us now about the processes that are underway ahead of his final resting place.
Well, good morning to you, Mpo, and good morning to our viewers at home. Well, you're correct. Today will be a hive of activity, a day that will be filled with sorrow and some somber moments. As you know, we bid farewell, and South Africa's bid farewell to the late legendary playwright and composer Mbongeni Ngema. But what will happen now, and what we understand from our discussions with the family, is that the family decided to divide itself into two groups. So there is a group that traveled to Mbongeni Ngema's ancestral home in Newzroom, which is in in the far north of KwaZulu-Natal, you know, to perform some cultural rituals and, some traditional things that are done when someone has passed away in an African family. You would know that Mbongeni Ngema died of a car crash. So there were specific traditional rituals that needed to be performed. And as we are coming to you live outside from the morgue where his mortal remains are being kept. So what the family will do, they will meet up with the family that was still here in his family home here in Durban. They will meet up around Umvoti Toll Plaza, you know, and then they will travel all this way towards Durban to this morgue behind me, where certain rituals and certain practices will be done as well, you know, as they collect his mortal remains and head towards the ICC for his final funeral service. So what happens is that in an African or in a African cultural practice, what would happen is that when someone dies of an accident, you know, there are certain rituals like the carrying of a leaf called Nkosi or Umpafu, where the family will allocate an elder in the family. In this regard, it will be the brother of Mbongeni Ngema, who will then fetch this leaf, speak to it. It is believed that when they do so, they collect the spirit of the late, you know, and then they would lead the late to his final resting place. So what we are expecting to see any moment from now is that the family will make its way here, and then we'll see a motorcade, you know, with the procession making its way to the ICC where the funeral will take place. We know that Mbongeni Ngema has been granted a special provincial funeral Category 2, which is granted to outstanding individuals who have contributed immensely in their own right to this country. You know that Mbongeni Ngema was a world acclaimed, known for his plays such as Sarafina and songs such as Stimela, saseZola, a person who was very, potent with the use of words. He had punchlines for days, you know. He knew how to keep the audience glued, and he knew how to spark conversations. So this morning we are expecting to see that procession that will leave from this morgue where his body was being kept from the moment it was fetched from the the Eastern Cape following that tragic accident that led to his passing. So as things stand for now, we're waiting for the family to come and fetch his body, and the procession will make its way towards the Inkosi Chief Albert Luthuli Convention Center here in Durban.
Ntando, we know that 2 memorial services took place for the late Mbongeni Ngema. Talk to us now about some of the, condolences and tributes that have come in, really describing a man of his caliber. A lot of people speaking about how he was humble and yet very strategic and creative with an eye for identifying talent.
Well, you're correct, Paul. Mbongeni Ngema has been hailed as a hero, who used his music, his artistry, even stage to portray certain messages that would spark debate. He was a man that was not afraid of controversy. We saw speakers, taking turns, taking to the podium, to laud him for his contribution to the art space in South Africa. You would know that he commanded a high level of respect, amongst his peers, as he was the one who was able to put together large ensembles of artists, and he would travel the world, showcasing what Africa and what South Africa has to offer. We saw quite a number of speakers, taking to the podium, but one noticeable speaker was that in the form of the former president of the Republic, Jacob Zuma, who took to the stage sharing his personal moments with Mbongeni Ngema, saying that there was still a lot that they still had planned that needed to be done, even citing that there are things that he had promised him that he would live to see. Unfortunately, fate did not have it, because he passed away before realizing. And then Jacob Zuma said, well, he would make sure he is certain that there are men and women who will stand up to the occasion and make sure that people are free, because he said it would seem that things are going wrong in our society. Well, your guess is as good as mine as to what he meant there, because he was ambiguous, and as you know, Jacob Zuma is very tactful with the use of words. But also notably, there was a good, tribute that was paid by the MEC of Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs here in the province, Siboniso Duma, who said that Mbongeni Ngema, publicly admitted to the fact that he had been an abuser of women at some time, facing his demons and repenting, and asking for forgiveness. You would know that, he was a man in polygamous marriages, as Jacob Zuma even said that, if you are an African man, meaning that you must never be scared of chatting women. So Mbongeni Ngema had that witty eye, and he was very good with words. So it would come as a no surprise that women actually found a pleasure in talking to him, and I think caving in to his flirtatious smile. But currently, we are expecting that this legendary, larger-than-life playwright and music composer will be given a dignified send-off as per the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, declaring that he will be afforded a special provincial Category 2 funeral, which will see an SAPS ceremonial service afforded to him during his funeral, which is set to kick off this morning here in Durban.
Well, Mnyandu, of course, giving us some details around the funeral service of the late Mbongeni Ngema.